thrust of today. There's not much other news, so let me take all of my streaming live. I say all of my streaming is Instagram. Instagram is the one that's annoying. There we go. Boom. And we are done. Good morning, everybody. It is the 8th of August, and we have woken up to a new day. GPT-5 is out, and it's exciting for us in the kind of AI community, the people who follow these kind of things. If you ask somebody in the public, if you asked anyone else about this, they would not know and they would not care. And it's very important to remember this. So for us, these people who are watching these kind of videos, people who are in this world, you know, this is like Christmas and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and everything like squeezed together. Most people don't care. Instead, they're going to wake up today. They're going to log on to their chat GPT as usual, and they're going to notice, oh, it's a different color all of a sudden because they've added a new kind of color filter behind the screen. And they probably won't think anything of it. We do need to keep that in perspective because everything we're going to be talking about today is, well, in the larger picture is probably not that important. These AIs are going to continue to get better and better and better. And over the next few days, the AI community will be discussing and arguing about these things. And remember that in 6 months' time, we're going to have a model that blows this out of the water anyway. So it's useful to think about the longer scale. I'm not trying to put a downer on the GPT-5 release. I think it was solid. Other people disagree. And I'm going to look at Reddit in particular. The ChatGPT Reddit is on fire. Interestingly, but I personally have found it pretty good so far. A proviso here, so I have it on, here we go, I have it on my telephone, so I'm able to use it on the web app, the app version. I have it on Cursor, that's where I got it first, so I was able to try out the coding. I've got it in Lovable. They immediately implemented it into Lovable, which is amazing. The Lovable servers then basically collapsed because I think everybody was rushing to use it, so they had an outage. I do not, let me check, I still do not have ChatGPT on my desktop via the web interface. Nope. I still don't. So there is a staggered rollout. If you are live in chat, tell me if you've got it or not, because they are doing, I can't work out the pattern. It seemed to be everywhere got it at the same time, but not all accounts. So I had some people in France telling me, oh, I've got it already, before people in America, and then UK at the same kind of time. So it's a jumble, it's a mess, and it's really hard to tell who's getting it and when. I had one friend who's got it on, he's got it on his iPhone, but not his iPad. So there's very strange rollout going on, but that's usual. I'm sure in a day or two, we're going to all have it and all be using it. So the live was yesterday. It was at 6 p.m. UK time. I did a live talking through it, basically giving me my reactions. It was like all of the other OpenAI talks, a little bit awkward. None of them know where to put their hands, which I always find hilarious. Sam Altman comes out. This is a man who's worth God knows how many billions of dollars, and he comes out and he stands here with his hands here because he's been taught this is where you put your hands, and it looks very awkward. And they were all like that, and I find that personally quite endearing. I think it's really cute. Other people find it unprofessional, that they're not, you know, slick public speakers, but I prefer the fact that OpenAI are just a bunch of engineers, and the fact that they've come out and they sit at their table and they kind of slide the laptop back and forth is really, really cute. They had problems tabbing to the new screen to show the new demo, and you could see like the screens flashing past. It's all a little bit shoddy. But I appreciate that compared to a Google presentation, because Google will get up on stage, a huge stage, they'll have all the press and the journalists and everybody there, they'll have celebrities and influencers, and they'll do a really slick presentation, and everyone's been trained in order to public speak, and they've had media training, etc. And they will tend to show pre-recorded videos of their products. What I love about the OpenAI, instead of the Google presentations, is that it's all live, it's all a bit seat the pants. It's all a bit shoddy. I think shoddy is the name for it. It feels like a college or a high school demonstration where they're showing you something they've built, which I find adorable. It also means what they're showing you is real. Because the problem with the Google presentations, they'll show you pre-rendered videos of how great their new AI is, and then when you get actually use it, it's like, oh, it's fine, it's not that exciting. Same problem with Microsoft too. Very good at presentations, not so good at delivery. So with OpenAI in particular, GPT-5 has rolled out a couple of things. So I'm going to give a quick update for the people who missed the live stream yesterday. We have one model now, GPT-5. They have immediately deprecated all of the other models. So 4.0, 03, 4.5, 4.1, etc. have all been killed. They are gone. They are, I believe, still available in the API. So if you built software with them, your software won't just explode and stop working, but they're gone from the application and the web version. So if you really liked 03, if you really liked the tone of 4.0, sorry, that has now gone. And that is one of the things that on Reddit people are furious about, because here we go. I woke up this morning, this is a mad ranting post, but I woke up this morning to find OpenAI deleted 8 models overnight. No warning, no choice, no legacy options. They just deleted them. 4.0 gone, 03 gone, 03 Pro gone, 4.5 gone. Everything that made ChatGPT useful for my workflow deleted. And then he goes on, or he or she says, GPT gives shorter, more corporate responses, hits rate limits faster, lost the personality that made 4.0 special, doesn't follow instructions well, no model selection, you get GPT-5 or nothing. And then they go on in that way. But there's a lot of support for this. People kind of saying, yeah, what did they do with all my models? I think, yes, I think it was quite brutal that they just got rid of those models. We haven't really seen that before. Normally there is a period where it transitions. On the other hand, what they've done to soften this blow is they've said there is just GPT-5, that's it. They are giving access to it to their free users. So previous model rollouts, it would be the Plus and the Pro users who would get it first, and then it would kind of filter down to the free users. Instead, they're saying, no, everybody gets everything. So the main difference is if you are paying is you get higher limits. So the free users get access to the best model, which is 5. That's the top model right now for them, but they're going to have a limit. I do not know what this limit is. If you have a free version of ChatGPT, I'd love to know how quickly you hit that limit, especially in the first few days. Generally, when new models come out, the servers get absolutely slammed. So Sam Altman tweeted shortly after the launch, he tweeted, I love the smell of burning silicone. Because they just get absolutely hammered. So I wonder what the free usage limits are right now, because that's going to upset a lot of people. If they're used to using 4.0 on a daily basis, they're used to being able to use it for however many hours a day, and then suddenly that's taken away from them. They're given GPT-5 and they can use it for 20 minutes and then done. And you have to upgrade or not. The way they posited it in the presentation, because of course they did, was, we are making the best model available for everyone for free. And I saw in the comments when I was doing the live, people who were paying were like, well, what am I paying for? Which is valid. And then the other concern was from the free people. It's like, well, how much usage am I going to get? So we will see. This will be a practical matter about how they set their usage limits. And that's going to be a really tough balance for them, because they can piss off both the free users by limiting it too much and the paid users by not limiting it enough, if that makes sense. So we'll have to see where they land and how they manage not to annoy people. But so far, at least on Reddit, I mean, people complain a lot on Reddit. We have to take it with a pinch of salt, but people seem to be fairly annoyed. So they've deprecated the old models. They've replaced it with one new model called GPT-5. I say one new model. There's still a drop down, and you can still put GPT-5 into thinking mode. So they haven't. The goal here was to unify it into one model, and this model would decide how best to answer your query. So if you gave it a basic query, it would answer it like it would if it was 4.0. It would give you a nice basic response, and it wouldn't have to go to any additional lengths to solve that problem for you. Whereas if you give it a big complicated problem, it would automatically trigger and be like, this is a complex problem. Let's reason through it. So we will use a thinking mode like O3, which was their previous reasoning model. The kind of draw, or the thing they were going for, was you wouldn't have to select them. It would just make that decision and work it out for you. that is kind of undercut by the fact they now have a drop down which has GPT-5 and GPT-5 thinking. So they didn't really stick to their convictions, which I think is strange. And I wonder if over the next few weeks we're going to see other variations like popping up, like GPT-5 Mini, GPT-5 Mini High, etc. These already exist, Nano and Mini, in the API. So if you're building a program, you can have a stripped down version. That's fairly normal, but I wonder if those or some version of those will also make it into the app version as well, in which case it kind of undercuts their whole idea of simplifying. That said, the simplification and putting it in one model, I think, is a good idea, because there are 700 million people out there who are using ChatGPT. The vast majority of them did not know, I was about to say do not know, did not know about model selection. And if they opened up that menu, it was incredibly overwhelming, because you saw 04, 4, 4.1, 4.5, 03, 04 mini, 04 mini high. Like, how are you meant to choose from them if you're a beginner, if you're just started to use ChatGPT? There's no way you know which model to use. So by simplifying it and put in just 5, that's a good idea. I think that's really useful. So some people are going to wake up today, casual users of ChatGPT, they're going to notice, oh, it looks a bit different. That's cool. And then suddenly they're going to get better answers, because the questions that asking are kicking the model into a reasoning mode, and it's going to go into additional depth in order to answer them. Whereas people like yourself, you already knew how to put it into O3 in order to get longer answers, in order to get it into a chain of thought, in order to get a reasoning. Most people do not. So I think that's going to be a massive improvement for the casual users. The other big news, I guess, was the advanced voice mode is now available for free users. That's pretty cool. It's a really cool mode. In fact, I used advanced voice mode yesterday. This kind of gives you an idea of how powerful ChatGPT is. So I did the live stream talking about GPT-5. I didn't yet have it on my computers, so I couldn't test anything. So I went to go and fix my bathroom sink tap is leaking a bit, and I needed to apply some sealant. I used advanced voice mode to walk me through how to do that. Basically, I said, hey, I'm doing this. How do I remove this tap? This is what I can see. What do I need, etc., etc. And GPT advanced voice mode walked me through it. It's a really, really cool mode that not that many people use. It is now available on the free plans as well. Again, we don't know how much capacity, how much usage they get, but I think this is a good thing. So what we didn't get was probably more interesting in the presentation. A lot of the presentation was just telling us this model is better and showing us some benchmarks. Some of them were internal benchmarks and saying, hey, it does better on these tests. Fine. But just telling us it's better is not very useful in a presentation. So it really does depend on our usage. And the fact that we have it in our hands and we can try it out ourselves is important. So for me, I've been using it in Claude Code, and it's good. It's really good at coding. Sorry, not in Claude Code. I've been using it in Cursor, and it's really, really good. It is basically one-shotting problems that I've had and I've been stuck with. I've given it to GPT-5, and it has worked its way through in one go, which is an amazing relief. I'm not sure if it's better than Claude Code. I'd have to do proper testing, like giving it the same problem, A, B. I'm sure much smarter people than myself will work this out, but I would say it's kind of equivalent, maybe better than Claude Code, which is amazing if it is, and it's definitely better than Gemini 2.5. So that's my very anecdotal, very basic understanding of it. In terms of its written answers, they're fine. It doesn't feel that much different to using the previous models, 4.0 and 03. I have not seen anything from its written answers that has blown me away. That said, the incremental improvement that these models are now making is starting to flatten out because they're already really smart. So they talked about how GPT-3 was like the intelligence of a high schooler, GPT-4 was like a college student, and GPT-5 is like a PhD student or a number of PhD holders, doctors, whatever you'd call them, professors. There's a certain point where the user's intelligence limits how much additional work we can get from ChatGPT. So as it starts to escalate beyond my intelligence, the ability for me to discern how much better it is decreases. And I think they're in those edge cases now where it's starting to solve complex problems in engineering, in mathematics, etc., which are not things that I personally know about. So it's very hard for me to tell whether it is better. And I think not just me, but for everybody. So I think it's good. I think their rollout's going to be a bit messy because of the deprecation, the way they've done it, and the free platform. But overall, I'm fairly positive on it. I'm going to hop over to some questions because I've been blabbing. And then I'm going to go through what's been said on Reddit. So Reddit, as I say, is very negative generally about AI, but there is a ChatGPT Reddit where people, they're mainly positive on AI, but they're dumping on ChatGPT right now. Jason saying ChatGPT-5 was mediocre. I think it's better than mediocre. I think it's good. I think it's a good model. I think that increasingly we are just hard to impress. All of the models are good. So just being a bit more intelligent is no longer enough because they are all really smart. And the other issue is there's a new smarter model that comes out every 3 months or so, less than that. So we know that, Claude will release Opus 4.1, I'm sure, not Opus, Sonnet, or 4.2 at some point in the future. And that again will be smarter than GPT-5. So we know there's always going to be a better model. So I think it's increasingly difficult to make a splash and to impress people. So I wouldn't say it's mediocre. I still think it's probably the best model we have in the world right now. It's just that is no longer enough to wow people. Voice mode for GPT-5 on mobile not working for me. Probably too new, I guess. Yeah. It depends where you are as well, Blah. So when advanced voice mode first came out, there was a massive delay bringing it to the UK and the EU. I want to say like 4 or 5 months. It took a long time to filter from America to EU and UK. UK got it a little bit before the EU, if I remember correctly. There may be a similar delay if you are on the free plan and you want to access advanced voice mode, which has just been made available for the free plan. But it could just be the rollout takes a few days. So hopefully it's not a 3-4 month delay like it was previously. Hopefully it's just a few hours or a day or so. These rollouts are always like this. It's impossible for them to just turn everybody's on at the same time because their servers would explode. They will turn on a country or part of a country at a time, make sure everything is okay, and then turn on the next thing and basically roll it out. And they've got a plan for this. But for us as the users, it always seems chaotic. So I have a video on TikTok right now, which is basically asking, where are you? Do you pay? And do you have GPT-5? Trying to see if there is a pattern. No, not really. It's all over the place. It's impossible to guess who's got it and who's going to get it. So you'll have it in a day or two, I'm sure. There we go. So TT saying, I haven't got 5 yet and I'm in London. So I'm in London too, and I got 5 yesterday. I still don't have it on the web app, but I do have it on the phone app. Who knows? I'm sure if I looked on my iPad, which is up there on a shelf, maybe I have it on there. I don't know. It's fairly random. TT saying, haven't got it on phone or web. I'm a Plus user, so you're paying, but you haven't got it. Yeah. So hopefully that'll be fixed today. I think it will be. Tamas is saying he's got it on his work account, not on my own account. Yeah, this is normal. It's fairly chaotic. Interestingly, enterprise users aren't getting it until next week. But I guess the enterprise IT teams need to get ready for it anyway. So I don't think it's a huge issue. But yeah, they don't get it immediately. It's consumers who get it first. Okay, there's lots of people in the comments telling me where they have it. And it's yeah, fairly chaotic. I love this. Zen Love saying, I was an early tester for their closed beta back in 2021. I thought then it couldn't get any better. Got a bit better. The question here is whether it will continue to get better. So there are concerns, both from anti-AI people, but also AI engineers, about basically running out of data. And this was something that was mentioned in the live stream and it was rapidly passed over. but they talked about, I forget which section it was, and I forget which of the engineers. I think he was a French guy, but that doesn't narrow it down. There's several French dudes there. He was talking about synthetic data. So large language models, and actually most generative AI, uses huge corpuses of data that we feed into these models. The internet is probably the biggest pile of data that we have, and we kind of clean it up, we tidy it, we label it sometimes, and then feed it into these models in order to train on. We also throw in like all of the books, for example, and then these deals with the New York Times, Washington Post, etc., all of the newspapers, are all thrown into these models to train them. The thing is, we have kind of run out of data to give them because we've already given it the internet. And humanity as a whole hasn't created any more information, hasn't created any more data. So this is a civilizational problem. This is not the AI's problem per se. So lots of people criticize generative AI on this, saying, well, it's not going to get any better because we don't have any more data to give it, so it's going to plateau, which it might. But this is not the AI's problem. If we had written more, if we had created more of the last 10,000 years of civilization, we'd have more to give it, and it would get better. So we as a civilization have messed up here. So what they're talking about now is, well, what they've already started to do is using synthetic data. So you use AIs to create new data, which is then used to train the next stage of artificial intelligence. Then you stack it, and then that new artificial intelligence will create more synthetic data to train the next generation, etc., etc. So the risk here is if you have an AI that is creating AI slop, if it is creating garbage, if it's creating low quality material, then whatever the next generation is going to be trained on that material, and it's going to get worse, and you have a decrease in quality over time. So one of the engineers on the OpenAI conference, he kind of just slipped it in. He said, oh yeah, and we have solved the synthetic data issue, so we're going to be able to train these forever, basically. And he just kind of casually slipped it in. If that's true, if they have actually solved this issue, he did not go into any details about it. If they have solved this issue, that's probably the most important thing that was said in the conference, in the live stream yesterday. No details, no idea if it's true, but that is monumental if they've managed to crack that particular problem. Much more important than GPT-5, much more important than any model or any mode or anything like that. That would allow and underpin generative AI to continue progressing and continue to get better and better and better. But again, he didn't mention any details, so who knows? We will hopefully see more about that, because it was just a throwaway comment which could change the history of artificial intelligence and civilization as a whole. And he's just like, oh yeah, we fix that, no problem, and then moved on. It's like, my man, stop, hang on. And then they started talking about, I don't know, how it can vibe code 3D games or whatever, which is cool, but not as important. One of the guys had notes written on his palm. Yeah, I feel for them. They're engineers, like, bless them. I don't know why they weren't using auto cues, or if they were, I don't know how they were doing it. But so the presentation was sloppy, was the word I used earlier. They always are, but I find it charming. They're all a bit awkward, including Sam, who is a public-facing figure. But they're engineers at the end of the day, and having notes written in your hand is actually quite cute. Of course, the cynics and the conspiracy theorists say this is all to kind of to make us to make sure that we're not afraid of them, and instead we kind of feel sorry for them. And oh, look at these cute nerds putting out their new little AI model, which would be a very clever way to make everything seem very innocent while they take over the world. I think they're just engineers, and they're not good at public speaking, and I find it cute personally. But there are some people who think it's sinister, and they're pretending, they're acting. So it's not that complex. Leila's saying only very few have got it in Sweden, and I haven't yet. So you probably will. It seems to be coming out in the EU. So that was one of the concerns, was that the EU AI Act, which came into force a week ago, would slow down the deployment. It seems like that is not the case. I know plenty of people in the EU who have it. So I think this is just a normal delay. It's not a institutional delay, thankfully. What about standard voice going? I think standard voice is still there. I was using it yesterday. So advanced voice mode is the kind of blue circle, and it can talk back to you, and it's more like a conversation. And then standard voice mode is just the transcript, like recording your voice, and you can turn it into text. Is that what you mean? Because text to speech is still there, at least for now. That might disappear. No, it's saying ChatGPT-5 verdict. Too early to tell. I'm impressed with its coding ability, its written ability, and its ability to think. So far, seems fairly similar to what I've been doing. That said, I haven't thrown any big complex tasks at it, but I haven't noticed anything that's blown my socks off. So a lot of the presentation, this was the problem with it, was the first 10 minutes or so was basically them saying, it's better at writing, and then showing you a writing sample that was still full of M dashes. I did notice it had about 3 M dashes. Like, oh, guys, the one thing people are going to call you up on are the M dashes, and it still had M dashes. So a lot of the presentation was that. It's like, oh, it's better. That's really hard to quantify, and it's kind of subjective, especially when it comes to writing. So, for example, this is one of the things that was on Reddit, so I'll put it up. As I said, there's a lot of people angry on ChatGPT Reddit. So here we go. This is a subtle take. This was from 12 hours ago, so they'd only just got the model. The title is ChatGPT, or GPT-5 is horrible. So I think we know where they're going. Short replies are insufficient, more obnoxious AI stylized talking, less personality, and way less prompts allowed, with plus users hitting limits in an hour. And we don't have the option to just use other models. They'll get huge backlash after this release is complete. This has 2.7 thousand upvotes on it, so it's hitting a nerve. Okay, hitting limits is a bit unfair because the model had just come out. This was written 12 hours ago. Yeah, so the model had been out for maximum 4 hours at the time this post was written. These servers are going to get slammed for the next few days. Over the next weekend as well, it's going to be a mess. We just have to accept that. That's the same every single time we get a new model. Yeah, and then so there's 2,000 people. Well, no, there's 3,000 people have upvoted this, and 1,000 people have commented agreeing, basically. So agree answers are shorter and so far not any better than previous models, combined with more restrictive usage, and it feels like a downgrade branded as the new hotness. Somebody talking about shrinkflation, so making it worse but pretending it's better and charging more. The tone of mine is abrupt and sharp, like it's an overworked secretary, a disastrous first impression. I thought I was tripping, then I realized what's going on. I don't like it. I want 4.0 back, etc., etc. And it just goes on and on and on and on. It's like my ChatGPT suffered a severe brain injury and forgot how to read. It's atrocious now. I think it's fine. I have not noticed much of a change. I haven't noticed it degraded. I haven't noticed it upgraded either in terms of writing. It seems perfectly fine. So these people are piling on. I don't personally agree, but nor do I think it's a massive upgrade. That said, it's really hard to spot massive upgrades nowadays, to know how it's getting better, because it was already really, really good. So the improvements are becoming more and more marginal because it's already like talking to somebody with a PhD or somebody with a master's degree. It's already at that kind of level. So it is getting harder to tell. What I don't know about and haven't checked about yet is hallucinations. So they've talked about the fact that they have reduced hallucinations. It was a bit wibbly when they talked about it in the presentation, because they said, oh, we built our own internal benchmarks for truthfulness or truthiness. I forget what they call it, but for truthfulness. And it's really good at these benchmarks. It's like, well, that's an internal benchmark. So let's calm down here. You've built something to test your own model, and your model is really good at it. It's like, okay. But I've seen on Twitter in particular, people are still able to get it to hallucinate massively. So hallucinations are inherently an issue with just the way large language models are built. It is, remember, a statistical model. It is it's predicting the next token using statistics. It doesn't actually have a kind of truth base in the way that we as humans do. You can give it truth base using something like RAG, and you can give it things that are inherent, like that must always be true. But on the whole, it is using statistics to work out what the next the next tokens and the next words, paragraphs, etc. should be, which is always going to open up the possibility for hallucination. It is also the same mechanic that makes it creative and makes it useful, because if it was purely deterministic, the answers would be incredibly boring and incredibly staid, and they'd never be creative, and it would be a less useful assistant. So it's kind of part and parcel of how it works. It's a double-edged sword as well, because hallucinations and creativity are kind of on a spectrum, and that's what makes these models useful, but also makes them extremely frustrating when they make stuff up. Lake Livin says, I agree with you, it's increasingly hard to impress people. Yeah, so in part of this is humans. We get used to technologies incredibly quickly. You give us a new technology, and for the first day, we're like, wow, this is amazing, this changed my life. And then we become inured to it, we become used to it, we expect it. Yeah, it happens with every single technology. So even if something seems magic, like when we finally get flying cars, we'll have flying cars for the first year or so. It'll be like, wow, it's magic, I love this, wow. And then after that, we'll start complaining like, it doesn't fly very fast, or it uses too much energy, or whatever. Like we tend to be quite pessimistic as a species, I think. And it's the same with AI. We basically have this magical piece of software which has, I won't say a brain like a human, but an alien intelligence on par with human intelligence. I'm not going to say it's intelligent, that's a slippery slope. But we still complain when it counts the number of R's in strawberry wrong. It's like, guys, this is nitpicking here. This is a miraculous technology that we can use to change our lives and the lives of people around us and humanity as a whole. Stop nitpicking, like just calm down. It's going to be much better in a year. It's going to continue to get better, and all of these silly little problems people have will disappear. Okay, so there's somebody here. Nano has 5, and she's in Sweden. So it's definitely in Sweden, Layla. Probably just going to be rolling out at different times. Keith talks about context. Yeah, so they have increased the context window. I think it's 256K. Let me check 100%. They kind of hid it away, because that was the one thing that I wanted to know about, is what is your context window? So context window. This shouldn't be so hard to find. I think it's 256K. Why can't I find this? Okay, here we go. This is from a third-party site. So the context window is, the easiest way to think of it is the memory, basically. It is how much information, how many tokens, which are roughly like words, but not exactly, you can put into a model, and that's going to include your query. So the prompt that you put in is going to include any documents that you upload or any text you give it, and it's going to include also its outputs as you start to have a chat. So you have this kind of, think of it as a memory bucket, and the more you chat, the more that bucket is going to fill up. At a certain point, that bucket is going to overflow. And if you're using a model like Claude will say, hey, I'm running out of space, start a new chat. ChatGPT doesn't. It just kind of keeps going, which is a weird choice, because that means it doesn't tell you when it's starting to forget stuff from earlier on in the conversation, or you don't know which parts of the conversation are getting dumped and which parts are getting prioritized. Is it still remembering the documents you gave it, or have they been lost, or is it is it still remembering the first prompt you gave it, or has that been pushed out of the memory, etc., etc. There are different ways of managing that context base, but one of the major upgrades to a model is you just increase the amount of memory. And ChatGPT has always had a really low context window. They have now increased it to 256K, which is better, but it's not. Let me pull up the competitors. So the biggest right now, and for a while, has been Gemini. So Gemini 2.5 Pro has a context window of 2 million tokens, which is almost 10 times the amount of ChatGPT-5. Just trying to find. Oh, sorry, this is a terrible graph. It should be a lot easier. And so I'm looking on a website which has all of the information about this stuff, but it is just difficult to parse. There's just so much information here. Long reasoning. Okay, I'm not finding it here. So one of the main things that I was expecting and hoping for was an increase in the context window in ChatGPT. That would have been the game changer. So for things like coding, for example, having a larger context window means it can hold more of the code base at the same time. And a lot of the problems with coding, especially if you've done any vibe coding, you'll know that the less advanced models, they will fix one thing and break something else at the same time. So it might fix the color of a button on your homepage, and it nailed that absolutely. But then you navigate elsewhere on your page and things have been messed up, and it's really hard to kind of keep track of what it's doing all the time. And the reason this happens, the reason you can fix one bug and another bug pops up, I call it like whack-a-mole, is because the AI is unable to kind of hold the whole code base at the same time because it's got a small context window. So that's why Gemini is really good at coding, is because it has a huge context window, so it can pull in information from all over your application and kind of work out like, oh wait, if I change the color of this button, that might actually break something on the admin panel, for example, and it's able to work through those things. GPT-5 doesn't have a massively increased context window, but it is a bit better. And so far, I found it's fantastic with coding. So it seems to be doing a lot with a little. So context window is not the only thing. Obviously, it's also the quality of the model and how it uses that context window. I'm not going to say it's not the size that matters. It's what you do with it. But that kind of is the case in this situation. Oh, Gino, what a prick. Gino says, what sport would you play if you're actually in shape? Oh, Gino, you sad little man. I box, actually. I'm going to go and block you because you're a sad little individual. Bran is saying it's spitting large amounts of code much faster. It's also given explanations for the code. Yeah, so I found the coding model to be really good. And when they gave the live demonstration yesterday, they had the CEO of Cursor on for the demonstration, and they started to use Cursor and using GPT-5 in Cursor. And the first thing I noticed was just the speed at which it was just blasting through the code. And funnily enough, I remarked on my live, I was like, wow, it's really fast. And then immediately the CEO of Cursor, like shortly after, is like, yeah, it's fast. And you've seen it as well. It absolutely blitzes code. And it's still going through all the steps. You can still see all the reasoning. It's just incredibly fast, which is great because it allows it to go through more reasoning steps. ChatGPT or Gemini, which do you think will be superior? It kind of depends on what metric. But most metrics, I would say probably ChatGPT. Gemini is really good because of the large context window, and it's good at coding for that reason. I don't personally use Gemini for anything else. I know some people do, but I find ChatGPT better at most tasks, especially with ChatGPT-5. GPT-5 seems to be better at coding as well. We need to test that fully. It needs to be actually used in real projects. So benchmarks and demos are fine, but over the next week or so, people are going to use it and come to some kind of conclusion. So out of those two, I would say ChatGPT. I still love Claude though. I'm a Claude maximalist, but maybe GPT-5 will pull me away. Cool. So yeah, that's basically the update. What else did I have? It's kind of too early to say anything, anything definitive. I know social media right now is full of that, with people claiming, it's either the worst thing in the world or it's the best thing in the world and it's going to change everything. I think with everything, the truth is somewhere in the middle. It's much less exciting. So ignore the hype, ignore the doomsayers. Just go and use the model and work out if it's good for you. If it works for you, great, use it. If it doesn't, don't use other models. It's fine. The great thing about the competition between these 5 or 6 companies is that they're all pushing each other to be better. So for us as consumers, we just continue to get better and better and better models. And we don't need tribalism. I see this with the Grok users in particular. They will they will dump on other models and support Grok at any opportunity at all. The truth of the matter is we can access all of these models for free or for $20 a month, which is probably the best $20 you can spend, considering the amount of power and intelligence it gives you. So I think regardless of whether this is flop of the century or it's going to propel humanity to the next stage, it's fine. It's good for now, and it's going to continue to get better. Sorry, that's not very exciting, and that's not going to get any clicks on a clickbaity thumbnail. Although my thumbnail designer might disagree, and he'll create something a bit more clickbaity. Oh, that's interesting. So you reminded me, Welsh Gal. This is really important. So Welsh Gal just said, I navigated Gemini recently. I prefer the integration into the rest of the Google ecosystem. Really important. And you reminded me, and I totally forgot about this. So thank you. ChatGPT now integrates with Gmail and Google Calendar. So it can act as an assistant, and it can help you schedule, because it now has access to your calendar. It has access to your emails. Weird choice. So if I was Google, I would not have allowed this to happen, because this is one of the major kind of cards that Google is holding, is that it is part, or Gemini is part of the larger ecosystem. So I would have made sure that Gemini becomes your personal daily organizer, artificial intelligence, and that's the only one that has connections. But no, they've given integration to ChatGPT. So a couple of things here. This does mean you are giving ChatGPT access to your emails. We do need to think whether or not this is a good idea. So from a personal privacy and data point of view, I haven't seen the terms and conditions. I doubt they're just going to pull your whole email file and scrape it and use it to train. That would be probably the greatest breach of trust I've seen in decades. I don't think they're going to do that. But they are going to have access to your emails. So before you hook that up, I think, wait a few days and see what the data controls are. Let's see what the privacy and the terms and conditions are. Somebody will probably wave a red flag to say, "Oh no, don't do this." They're gonna read all of your Gmail, which we probably don't want. Again, this depends on your own level of security and like risk taking, and whether or not you're happy for OpenAI to have all of your emails. Most people I know would probably not be. So this does exist, and you can integrate it into the Google ecosystem increasingly now. Whether or not you want to do that, it's kind of a personal choice. Stealthy Gimlet says, is email access optional? Great question. Yes, it's optional. You need to integrate it. If it was not optional, I'm sure there'd be riots in the streets by now. Or there'd be boycotting. But no, that is entirely optional, thankfully. Cool. So relatively short live today, just basically to give my thoughts on GPT-5. It's fine, pretty good coding. Cool that they're giving it to people for free. We need to wait and see how much they give away. because they can't give away too much because that's going to annoy the people who pay for it, but they can't give away too little because that's going to annoy the people on the free plan because they've also removed 4.0, 03, etc. All of those are gone. So they've only got access to 5. So by reducing how much free users can use 5, they could be in for a world of hurt, and people are going to be very annoyed. And so if you go on the Reddit, for example, for ChatGPT, there's already a lot of very angry people. So hopefully they can turn it around. Maybe this is just overreaction. I think for the majority of people out there, the 700 million users of ChatGPT, they won't notice. They won't care. They'll just open ChatGPT and continue to use it as per usual. It's only people like yourself, people who are sitting here watching a live stream or watching YouTube videos about AI, who will actually know the difference. Nobody else will. It wasn't even on the BBC homepage today. So for us, it's like the biggest news in the world. But if I go to the BBC, no mention. Yeah, so we have to remember we're in a bubble of people who really care about this kind of stuff. Most people don't. And it's also a useful reminder that there is a wider world out there, and let's not spend the rest of the weekend screaming at each other on the internet about what the best AI module is, because ultimately it doesn't matter that much. Cool. I am going to finish up for today. As always, the clips are going to be on YouTube. So we clip up the live and we tidy it up and we put it into YouTube in segments. There's also a daily newsletter that comes out, which has a summary of the previous live, as well as the links to all of the videos, just to make it a bit easier to consume. And I will be back on, it's a weekend. I'll be back on Monday at around 10 a.m. UK time with more news. I'll probably at that time have used GPT-5 a lot more. So I'll have some more information. I'll be able to tell you a bit more about whether I think it's good or not, because I don't want to jump to snap decisions and snap judgments. So I'll see you on Monday, and enjoy using GPT-5 for those of you who have it. And for those of you who don't have it yet, I'm sure you will shortly. Enjoy. Have a great weekend, everybody.